The Valdorian Empire had conquered 47 star systems without losing a single ship. Their technology was so advanced that most civilizations surrendered the moment they saw the massive war fleets approaching their worlds. But today was different. Today, they were sending just 12 ships to a small blue planet called Earth. Commander Thexmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars blur past as they traveled faster than light. He was tall, with gray skin and 4 arms, each ending in razor-sharp claws. His species had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, and he had personally overseen the conquest of 6 different worlds. "Sir, we're approaching the target system," announced his navigation officer, a younger Valdorian with nervous energy. Thexmore nodded slowly. This mission was supposed to be easy. According to their intelligence reports, the humans had only recently discovered space travel. They had crewed rockets that barely reached their own moon. Their weapons were primitive projectile launchers that fired metal chunks. Their population was divided into hundreds of small nations that constantly fought each other. Perfect prey, Thexmore had told his officers during the briefing. "We'll observe them for a few days, catalog their resources, and then return home with a full invasion plan. The Empire will harvest this world within a year." The scout fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Immediately, their sensors began scanning everything within range. What they found confused them. "Commander," called out the sensor operator, his voice uncertain, "I'm detecting energy signatures near the gas giants. They don't match our intelligence reports." Thexmore frowned. "Show me." The main screen displayed the solar system in tactical view. Jupiter and Saturn were highlighted with dozens of small energy sources moving around them. The reading suggested advanced fusion drives and energy shields. "This makes no sense," Thexmore muttered. "Our spies reported that humans haven't even established permanent colonies on their own moon." What the Valdorians didn't know was that humanity had been lying about their capabilities for decades. Hidden among Jupiter's moons, Captain Jason Blake watched their approach through advanced sensors that could detect ships across entire star systems. Blake was a veteran of Earth's secret space navy. His hair was gray, and his face bore scars from battles that officially never happened. He commanded the USS Yorktown, a warship disguised as a simple research vessel. "How many contacts, Lieutenant?" Blake asked the sensor officer quietly. 12 ships, Captain. Configuration matches the Proxima incident from 15 years ago." Blake remembered the Proxima incident well. Another alien scout fleet had made the mistake of attacking a human research station. None of those ships had made it home either. "Signal Command," Blake ordered. "Tell Admiral Kelly that the pattern is repeating. We have another curious species poking around our system. On Earth, deep beneath the Colorado Mountains, Admiral Patricia Kelly received the message in the war room of Terra Command." The massive chamber was filled with holographic displays, showing every human asset in the solar system. Most of them appeared to be civilian mining ships, research stations, and communication satellites. In reality, they were all military assets disguised as peaceful infrastructure. Kelly had been preparing for this moment her entire career. She was one of the few people who knew the truth about Earth's history with alien visitors. This wasn't humanity's first contact with aliens. It wasn't even the 10th. "Activate Operation Mousetrap," she commanded. "Signal all hidden platforms and stealth squadrons. We have uninvited guests, and they're about to learn why no one comes to Earth uninvited." Across the solar system, weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids began powering up their systems. Ships that appeared to be hauling ice on the outer planets revealed their true nature as heavily armed warships. Defense stations hidden inside hollowed-out moons brought their targeting systems online. Back on the Valdorian flagship, Thexmore was growing more concerned by the minute. His sensors were detecting energy patterns that shouldn't exist. The humans were supposed to be primitive, but the readings suggested technology that was almost as advanced as his own. "Sir, should we proceed with the mission?" asked his tactical officer. Thexmore considered retreating, but the shame of returning empty-handed would destroy his career. The Valdorian Empire demanded results, and he had never failed a mission before. "We continue as planned," he decided. Perhaps their intelligence network was more advanced than we thought, But there's still just one small planet. We have the most powerful scout fleet in the galaxy. He had no idea that 46 other alien commanders had made the exact same decision over the past 1,000 years. None of them had lived to regret it. As the Valdorian fleet moved deeper into the solar system, invisible human eyes tracked their every movement, and deadly weapons prepared for another hunt. Commander Thexmore decided it was time to make contact with these surprisingly advanced humans. His intelligence reports had clearly underestimated their technology, but the Valdorian Empire had protocols for dealing with more developed species. First, they would demand surrender. If the species refused, they would demonstrate their superior firepower by destroying a few ships. Most civilizations got the message quickly. "Take us toward that lone vessel near the fourth moon," Thexmore ordered, pointing at a human ship that had appeared on their sensors near Jupiter's satellite Europa. The ship looked crude compared to Valdorian vessels, with thick armor plating and angular designs that seemed almost primitive. It was much smaller than his flagship, maybe 1/10 the size. Thexmore felt confident that this first meeting would go smoothly. What he didn't know was that Captain Robert Chun had been waiting for this moment. Chun sat in the command chair of the U.S. Defiance, a ship that looked old and battered from the outside, but contained some of the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. His crew had been tracking the alien fleet since they entered the solar system. "They're approaching, Captain," reported Lieutenant Jackson from the sensor station. "Single ship, much larger than ours. Energy readings suggest heavy shields and advanced repulsion." Chin nodded calmly. He had read the reports from previous alien encounters. They all followed the same pattern. The aliens would make contact, demand surrender, and then attack when humans refused. This species would be no different. "Open a communication channel." Chin ordered. "Let's hear what they have to say." The main screen flickered to life, showing Commander Thexmore's imposing figure. The alien commander's four arms were crossed, and his yellow eyes glowed with confidence. Behind him, the bridge of his ship hummed with alien technology that looked decades ahead of anything humans should possess. "Primitive vessel." Thexmore's voice came through the translator, sounding cold and mechanical. "This is Commander Thexmore of the Valdorian Empire. You will power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Your world now belongs to the Empire." Chin leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Commander, I was really hoping for a different kind of conversation today. Maybe something about trade, cultural exchange, or even just a friendly hello." Thexmore's expression hardened. "You mistake our intentions, human. This is not a negotiation. Your species will submit to Imperial rule, or you will be eliminated. You have 60 seconds to comply." "That's unfortunate," Chin replied, his voice remaining completely calm. "Because you've just made a terrible mistake coming here with threats." The alien commander laughed, a harsh sound that sent chills through the human crew. "Mistake? Look around you, primitive. You have one small vessel. I have 12 warships equipped with technology your species cannot even comprehend." Chen turned to his weapons officer, a young woman named Lieutenant Williams, who had been waiting with her finger hovering over the fire control system. "Lieutenant, you're authorized to engage. Show our guests what happens when someone threatens Earth." Williams smiled grimly and pressed the activation sequence. Firing railguns. The Defiance's main weapons were magnetic accelerators that could launch projectiles at nearly 20% the speed of light. The kinetic energy alone was enough to punch through almost any known material. But these weren't ordinary projectiles. They were tungsten rods embedded with small fusion charges that would detonate on impact. Thexmore watched in complete shock as 3 of his escort ships simply exploded. The projectiles moved so fast that his sensors barely detected them before impact. The explosions were massive, turning advanced Valdorian cruisers into expanding clouds of debris in seconds. "Impossible," he whispered, staring at the tactical display. "Our shield should have stopped any primitive kinetic weapon." But the human weapons weren't primitive at all. The railgun projectiles had been designed specifically to penetrate energy shields by creating temporary quantum disruptions in the barrier field. It was technology that humanity had reverse engineered from a crashed alien ship decades earlier. "All ships, evasive maneuvers." Thexmore shouted to his fleet, "Return fire immediately." The remaining Valdorian ships began launching energy beams and plasma torpedoes at the human vessel. But something was wrong. Their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the Defiance properly. The ship seemed to flicker and shift position slightly, making precise targeting impossible. Chen watched the alien weapons fire harmlessly past the ship. Stealth systems are working perfectly, he reported to his crew. Their targeting computers can't compensate for our quantum displacement field. The Defiance fired again, and 2 more alien ships erupted in brilliant explosions. Thexmore realized with growing horror that his technologically superior fleet was being systematically destroyed by a single human vessel that should have been helpless against them. "Retreat!" he ordered desperately. "Full reverse. Get us out of range." But as his ships tried to withdraw, they discovered another problem. Their quantum communication systems were dead. Every attempt to contact the Valdorian Empire resulted in static. The humans had somehow jammed their most advanced communication technology. Chen watched the alien ships fleeing and opened the communication channel one more time. "Commander Thexmore, I hope you're starting to understand something important. Earth isn't the primitive world your intelligence reports described. We've been preparing for visitors like you for a very long time." The surviving Valdorian ships scattered across the solar system like frightened animals. Commander Thexmore had lost 5 vessels in less than 10 minutes, and his confidence was completely shattered. He ordered his remaining 7 ships to spread out and use their advanced cloaking technology to hide while they figure out how to escape this nightmare. "Activate quantum stealth fields," Thexmore commanded from his damaged flagship. "These humans cannot have sensors advanced enough to track us while we're cloaked." His tactical officer nodded nervously. "Stealth fields at maximum power. Commander, we should be completely invisible to their primitive detection systems." But deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Lisa Thompson was watching every move they made. Her squadron of 6 ships had been disguised as mining vessels for the past 3 years, slowly hollowing out asteroids and filling them with weapon platforms. To any casual observer, they looked like simple industrial ships collecting raw materials. "I count 7 remaining contacts," Thompson reported to her bridge crew. "Their stealth technology is impressive, but they're still putting out quantum signatures. Our sensors can track those across half the solar system." Lieutenant Davis, her weapons officer, checked his targeting computer. "All weapon systems are locked on. Captain, we have clean shots on 3 of them." Thompson had been hunting aliens for 15 years. She remembered her first encounter with a species called a hegemony, back when she was just a junior officer. That battle had taught humanity an important lesson about alien psychology. Most species that traveled between stars had never faced real opposition. They expected primitive worlds to surrender quickly. "Fire when ready, Lieutenant. Let's show them what a real ambush looks like." The disguised mining ships revealed their true nature as their armor plating slid away to expose massive railgun batteries. Tungsten projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, crossing the void between them and their targets in seconds. 2 more Valdorian ships exploded before they could even detect the incoming fire. Thexmore watched his fleet shrink further and felt panic rising in his chest. "How are they finding us? Our stealth technology has never failed before." What he didn't understand was that humanity had captured intact alien ships many times over the past few centuries. Each species that tried to conquer Earth had contributed something to human knowledge. The hegemony had taught them about energy shields. The Krex Empire had shown them quantum communication. The Valdorians were just the latest teachers in humanity's deadly education. Near Saturn's rings, Commander David Brown received the update about the asteroid ambush. His stealth fighters had been hiding among the ice and rock particles for hours, waiting for their moment. Brown was a pilot, not a ship captain, but he commanded 12 of the fastest vessels in the human fleet. "Control, this is Ghost Squadron," Brown reported to Earth Command. "We have visual contact with 2 enemy vessels attempting to hide behind Saturn. Request permission to engage." Admiral Kelly's voice came back immediately from the command bunker. "Permission granted, Ghost Squadron. Remember, we want at least 1 ship intact for intelligence gathering." Brown smiled inside his helmet. His fighters were small, fast, and equipped with experimental weapons that most aliens had never encountered. "Copy that, Control. Beginning attack run. The human fighters emerged from Saturn's rings like deadly insects, moving in perfect formation. Their weapons were different from the heavy railguns used by larger ships. Instead, they fired streams of microprojectiles that could overwhelm enemy shields through sheer numbers. The first Valdorian ship never saw them coming. Thousands of tiny tungsten pellets struck its hull in a matter of seconds, punching holes through the armor like a shotgun blast. The ship lost power and began drifting helplessly. The second alien vessel managed to detect the attack and try to fight back, but the human fighters moved too quickly. They swarmed around the larger ship like angry wasps, striking from every angle before vanishing back into the ring system. Meanwhile, on Mars, Colonel Jennifer Adams was coordinating the entire hunt from her command center built inside an extinct volcano. She had screens showing every human asset in the solar system, and she was moving them like pieces on a chessboard. Target priorities are as follows. Adams announced to all units, disable their command ship if possible. We need prisoners. All other vessels are expendable. Remember, none of these ships can be allowed to return home. The remaining Valdorian ships found themselves trapped in a web that had been decades in the making. Every planet had hidden defense platforms. Every asteroid belt concealed weapon stations. Every gas giant had patrol squadrons that could appear without warning. Thexmore tried desperately to find a way out of the system, but human ships seemed to anticipate his every move. When he headed for the outer planets, fighters emerged from the ice fields of Neptune. When he tried to hide near the sun, solar observation stations revealed themselves to be heavily armed fortresses. By the end of the first day, only 3 Valdorian ships remained operational. 3 days into the hunt, Commander Thexmore found himself in an impossible situation. His once mighty fleet of 12 ships was down to just 2 vessels, and his own flagship was badly damaged. Life support was failing, and his crew was on the edge of panic. The humans had been systematically picking off his ships one by one, appearing from nowhere and vanishing before his weapons could lock on. During a desperate attempt to repair his engines near an asteroid field, Thexmore made a fatal mistake. He sent a small shuttle with repair crews to gather materials from a nearby rock formation. The shuttle was captured within minutes by a human boarding party that seemed to appear out of thin air. Captain Thomas Wilson stood in the interrogation room aboard the U.S. Constellation, studying the alien prisoner they had brought back. The Valdorian engineer was young and terrified, constantly looking around the room as if expecting to be tortured or killed. Wilson had done this many times before with other species, and he had learned that kindness often worked better than threats. "What's your name?" Wilson asked gently, offering the alien a cup of water. The creature's translator device crackled as it spoke. I am Engineer Vextor of the Imperial Fleet. Please, I have information. Don't kill me." Wilson sat down across from the alien and smiled reassuringly. "Nobody's going to hurt you, Vextor. We just want to talk. Tell me, is this the first time your empire has sent ships to Earth?" Vextor nodded quickly. Yes. Our intelligence said you were primitive. We expected easy conquest. But your weapons, your technology, it's impossible. How did you advance so quickly?" Wilson leaned back in his chair. "That's an interesting question. The truth is, we've had help. Lots of help, actually." The alien engineer looked confused. "Help? From who?" "From visitors like you," Wilson explained. "Over the past 1,000 years, 47 different species have sent scout fleets to Earth. Each one was convinced that we were just a primitive backwater world ripe for conquest. Each one was wrong." Vextor's eyes widened in shock. 47? But that's impossible. The Empire monitors all deep space communications. We would know if other expeditions had failed. Wilson nodded knowingly. That's because none of them ever made it home to report their failures. Every crashed ship, every captured alien, every piece of technology they brought with them, it all stayed here on Earth. We've been very good students. At that moment, Major Rebecca Parker entered the room carrying a data tablet. She was the head of Earth's Xenoarchaeology Department, responsible for studying alien technology and reverse engineering it for human use. "Captain Wilson," Parker said, "we finished analyzing the engine components from their shuttle. The quantum drive design is actually less advanced than the hegemony ships we captured 20 years ago, but their shield generators are interesting. We should be able to integrate the improvements into our defense grid within a month. Wilson turned to Vextor, who was staring at Parker in horror. You see, engineer, every species that's tried to conquer us has only made us stronger. The Altarians taught us about energy weapons. The hegemony showed us shield technology. The Krex gave us faster-than-light communication. Your people are teaching us about quantum stealth drives. Vextor began shaking uncontrollably. You're saying that Earth is a trap? A trap that's been operating for centuries. Not exactly a trap, Wilson corrected. More like a proving ground. Every alien species that comes here thinking they can easily conquer humanity ends up teaching us something new about galactic warfare. We've turned this entire solar system into the ultimate training exercise. Parker pulled up a holographic display showing the solar system. Red dots marked the locations of crashed alien ships, hidden weapon platforms, and battle sites from previous encounters. There were hundreds of them scattered across every planet and moon. We've learned that most spacefaring civilizations follow similar patterns, Parker explained. They send scout fleets first to assess primitive worlds. When the scouts don't return, they assume the ships were lost to accidents or mechanical failures. Eventually, they send larger invasion forces, but by then we've had decades to study their technology and prepare countermeasures. Vextor slumped his chair, overwhelmed by the revelation. How many others? How many species have you destroyed? Wilson's expression grew serious. Destroyed is too strong a word. We defend ourselves when attacked, and we learn from every encounter. Some species eventually figured out to leave Earth alone after losing enough ships. Others kept sending fleets until they ran out of resources to waste on us. The alien engineer looked up with desperate eyes. My commander! He's trying to warn the Empire. If he escapes, if he tells them about your true capabilities, he won't escape, Parker said matter-of-factly. None of them ever do. This solar system has been designed over centuries to be the perfect killing field. Every asteroid, every moon, every planet has been turned into part of our defense network. Your commander Thexmore is fighting the accumulated knowledge and technology of 47 different alien civilizations. Commander Thexmore was down to his last ship, his flagship barely holding together with emergency power. Most of his crew was dead, and the life support systems were failing. He had watched the humans systematically destroy his entire fleet with tactics and weapons that should have been impossible for such a primitive species. But in his desperation, Thexmore had one final plan. If he couldn't escape to warn his people, perhaps he could at least send them a message. His ship's communication array was damaged but still functional. He just needed to get close enough to Earth to punch through whatever jamming technology the humans were using. Set course for the third planet, he ordered his remaining crew members, his voice hoarse from breathing recycled air. Maximum speed. We're going to ram their homeworld and send a warning transmission while we do it. His navigation officer, one of only 3 crew members left alive, looked at him with hollow eyes. Commander, the humans will intercept us long before we reach their planet. Their defense network is everywhere. Then we'll die trying, Thexmore replied grimly. The Empire must know the truth about this system. They must understand that Earth is not what it appears to be. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Patricia Kelly watched the final alien ship begin its desperate charge toward Earth. She had seen this exact scenario play out dozens of times with other species. The final commander always tried the same last-ditch effort. Admiral, reported her tactical officer, the alien vessel is on a collision course with Earth. Impact in approximately 6 hours at current speed. Kelly nodded calmly. Signal the orbital defense platforms. I want his engines disabled, but keep his communication systems intact. Let him send his message home. Colonel William Foster, standing beside Kelly in the command center, raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, are you sure we should let him warn his people? Previous protocols have always called for a complete communication blackout. Kelly smiled slightly. Trust me, Colonel. Sometimes the most effective way to keep people away is to let them know exactly why they should stay away. His message will serve our purposes better than silence. High above Earth's atmosphere, the defense platforms that had been disguised as weather satellites and communication relays revealed their true nature. Massive railgun batteries swiveled to track the incoming alien vessel. These weren't the same weapons that had destroyed his fleet. These were precision instruments designed for surgical strikes. Captain Janet Reynolds commanded Defense Platform 7, one of 12 orbital fortresses hidden in Earth's satellite network. She had been waiting for this moment since the alien fleet first entered the system. Target the enemy vessel's engine sections only. Reynolds ordered her weapons crew. We want them alive and talking, not vaporized. The platform's railguns fired with surgical precision. Instead of the massive tungsten rods used to destroy ships, they launched smaller projectiles designed to disable specific systems. The shot struck Thexmore's engines perfectly, shutting down the propulsion without breaching the hull. Thexmore felt his ship shudder as the engines went dead. Emergency lights flickered on as his vessel began drifting helplessly through space, still moving toward Earth but no longer under power. Remarkably, his life support and communication systems were still functioning. They could have destroyed us completely, his communications officer whispered in amazement. Why didn't they? Thexmore realized a terrible truth. Because they want us to send a message. They're not afraid of the Empire learning about them. They want us to warn our people away. With shaking hands, he activated the long-range communication array. The signal would take months to reach Valdorian space, but it would get through. The humans had deliberately left his communication systems untouched. Emergency transmission to Valdorian High Command. Thexmore began, his voice heavy with defeat and horror. This is Commander Thexmore, Expedition Leader to the Sol System. All ships of my fleet have been destroyed. Repeat, all ships destroyed. He paused, looking out at the blue planet, growing larger in his view screen. It looked so peaceful, so innocent. No one would believe what he had witnessed here. Command, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Earth is not a primitive world. The humans are not the easy prey our intelligence suggested. This entire solar system is a carefully constructed trap that has been perfected over centuries. The words came pouring out of him as he described the advanced human weapons, their impossible tactics, and a revelation that Earth had been destroying alien fleets for over 1,000 years. They have technology that rivals or exceeds our own, taken from dozens of conquered species. Every asteroid belt contains hidden weapons. Every planet has orbital defenses disguised as civilian infrastructure. They knew we were coming long before we arrived, and they were ready for us. Thexmore's voice cracked as he continued. Do not send reinforcements. Do not send invasion fleets. Do not even send long-range probes to the system. Add Sol, 3 to the Forbidden Systems list, and pray to the old gods that humanity never decides to expand beyond their own star. The transmission ended as human boarding ships approached his vessel. Thexmore watched them coming and felt a strange sense of relief. At least his people would know the truth. At least they wouldn't make the same mistake he had. Months later, the Valdorian High Command received the transmission. After heated debates and careful analysis, they quietly added the Sol system to their list of unexplained lost zones and redirected their expansion efforts to other regions of space. They never realized that 46 other alien governments had received similar warnings over the centuries, and that Earth's reputation as a place where scout fleets simply vanished had become the galaxy's best-kept secret.